I won't waste your time. Here is 17 steps to completely transform yourself. We will start from things which basically everybody should do for their improvement and go to most elite knowledge which only a few people does. The first step, which is so important, is to lift weights. You don't know how much benefit it has, starting from increasing the testosterone, very important hormone for men, which is responsible for motivation, for a drive to life, for increasing attractiveness, correct biological processes, and many more. You will also, of course, improve your strength, improve your discipline, because parts of your brain which are responsible for keeping discipline will grow, and it will be easier for you also in different areas of life to keep discipline. Another thing is that lifting weights is very anti-aging exercise. So basically, there is not an exercise which doesn't contain physical activity, which allows your brain to not get older. But you can do this through a physical exercises, and weightlifting is very efficient in this process of protection of your brain. You will also build a muscle mass, which is extremely important and, for example, prevent and even can fight a cancer. Optimally, you should do it 2 to 4 times a week and you will see results after a year. The next thing are sprints. Oh my god, sprints are amazing. For example, they can increase your testosterone for 20 to even 40% in the next hours of the day. So optimally, the best time to do sprints is in the morning. It can also grow your human growth hormone, which is extremely important for growing muscles, even for growing taller if your growing process isn't over yet. And through sprinting, you can increase this hormone through even 5 to 10 times. How amazing is that? Another thing is that during the sprint, the lactate acid is created and it goes from your muscles to your brain, where it's used as one of the most effective fuel. It inhibits tire, it's increased the drive to do things. So absolutely do sprints, and if you only can, do them in the morning. The third step are cold showers. Their mechanism is absolutely amazing because they for a moment decrease your dopamine to an absolute bottom and you feel like you're gonna die soon. But the moment after you finish them, you get a hype because your body needs to warm up again. So you get extra portion of dopamine and it can last for even 3 hours. And the amount of dopamine and happiness which people feel after getting cold shower is similar to a level which people feel after taking a cocaine. But other than in cocaine, you don't have a downfall, but you will last with your effects after cold shower even 3 hours, where you will be extremely motivated to do the next task of the day. Your cold showers doesn't need to be so long. It can last 30 seconds, but it will still give you some positive results. Cold water is also promoting a secretion of sirtuins, which are very important proteins which are responsible for repairing damages in cells, which prevent aging, prevent cancer, and many other illnesses. Of course, it's not just that. Whole cascade of positive biochemical reactions is started when you have cold shower. The next thing is morning sun exposition. Your brain is an extremely sensitive machine and it gets an information through a length of a sun ray, what time exactly it is and what processes need to be started, what hormones need to be secreted and things like that. So it's extremely important to not give in morning to your eyes the length of the ray from, for example, your phone, your laptop, your screen, which will be usually blue and will give completely wrong information about an hour outside. So go outside for 15-20 minutes. It will be enough to let your brain know what hour exactly it is outside and what processes need to be started and that we are finally starting the day. In morning, you have also the highest level of cortisol. So if you go outside to the nature in the morning, you will lower this level of cortisol and introduce a little bit relief from stress. Number 6, no food until afternoon. Our body, very much simplifying, has only 2 modes, hunt or digest. And when you actually digest, so when you eat this whole big breakfast in the morning, your body actually becomes lazy. Okay, I have food, I have everything, I can activate mechanisms, which means that I'm safe, I don't need to move anymore, and I can rest. So it will be much harder for you to actually complete your work, complete your task, go gym and things like this. And if you don't eat anything in the morning, as our ancestors did who had to literally go hunt, go to find some fruits, your body activates the hunt mode. So in hunt mode, you become more disciplined, more focused. You don't have running thoughts, you don't have brain fog, because your brain is focused to get some food, to hunt for survive. And you can activate this mode through fasting until afternoon. So for example, if you wake up at 7, 6, according to science, it's absolutely okay for you to stay without food until afternoon. First thing, you will activate the hunt mode in your body, and the second thing, your body will actually start the fasting process. Damaged elements, damaged cells will be digested in your body, and you will heal yourself naturally through a fast which lasts for 16 hours or more. Next step is nutrition-rich diet. Our brain is an extremely sensitive machine, and if we don't provide enough elements, enough substances, it will just not work properly. So for example, to correct memory, analyzing data, thinking, you need choline, which is in big amounts which are necessary for our body practically only in eggs. You need also things like zinc, magnesium to correct thinking, correct sleep, correct memorization process, bunch of vitamins and more. So just make sure that you eat nutrition-rich diet. Make a research or even watch at my channel what are the best food for your brain and what are the most nutrition-rich food. Things like oysters, liver, eggs should be your absolute basics, as they contain almost all necessary minerals, all necessary vitamins and all necessary proteins. If I could give you just one food advice, it would be to eat oysters, to eat liver and to eat eggs, because they are absolutely superfoods, and I think everyone should contain this in their diet. The next step is to actually supplement some elements, some vitamins, because look, our soils are now extremely barren. It's not like how 100 years ago, it's not like in the past when these soils really contained a lot of nutrients, a lot of things which allowed us to not get any supplements. Now, when soils are used to maximum, often your food is really poor in nutrients, really poor in minerals and things like this. So it may be important for you to take an extra magnesium, extra zinc, as they are extremely important for your nervous system and for functioning of your whole body. If you cannot focus, sleep normally, you have problems with studying, with working, most probably you may just have a deficit of magnesium. So you should check carefully, is your diet contains enough nutrients, and if not, you should just supplement them. The next point is to sleep 7.5 hours during the night. I was sleeping almost all my teenage year for 6 hours during the night. And really, I didn't even realize how damaging and how terrible it is for my brain. Literally, the number of population who can survive on 6 hours of sleep or less and still function properly, rounded to a whole number, is exactly 0%. And the fact that your body does not send you any signals that you are lack of sleep and you need to sleep more is the fact that we practically never in history deprived ourselves of sleep voluntarily. We practically always went to sleep with a sunset and woke up with the sunrise. So historically, almost all human beings from the past slept more than 8 hours. Everything changed with an industrial revolution, inventing of electricity, inventing of caffeine. So we don't even realize how much damage is created for not sleeping enough, how much memory is lost, how our brain cannot function properly, cannot develop properly because of the fact that we don't sleep enough hours. Literally, the brain stops to develop when we stop to sleeping enough hours. So you have a brain which is not fully developed, and how you want to achieve anything, how you want to function properly when your brain just stopped to develop through not sleeping enough. Number 9, block all blue light 1 hour before you go to sleep. Blue light is informing our body that it's exactly 12 a.m. in the morning. It's a peak of the day and we need to have a peak performance. But it's literally impossible to be active, to be in a peak energy during all of the day. We need time to get calm, we need time to get some rest. So when all the time your body gets an information that it's exactly 12 a.m. in the morning, you never actually rest properly, and you also don't sleep properly because your brain still activates processes as it would be middle of the day and as you would still have to be in your peak performance. How to do this in practice, how to block a blue light. You can of course change your phone setting, but the best thing which you can do and to fully block blue light is to buy some glasses which are actually meant to fully block a blue light and wear them after it gets dark, 1-2 hours before you go to sleep, and you will see a difference. But the budget version is to just set it in the settings of your phone. Also pay attention to the electric lighting in your home. It should be in the evening more red, more orange as the sunset it is, to just get you in this sleeping mood, which is related to the orange or red light. Number 11, work cycles. Look for example at our sleep. We have the cycles of sleep which last exactly for 1.5 hours. That's why we feel so good after sleeping 6 hours compared to, for example, with something like 5 or 7. Our brain naturally works in cycles, and it's the same with your work. After 1.5 hours, you just become so inefficient and your brain just stops to be productive. So make sure that your work cycles last for 1.5 hours, and then you have some break which will let your brain to rest, which will let it to rebuild neurotransmitters which are responsible for memory, for motivation, for brain actions and things like this. Also, another fact is that a little bit less advanced cycle, and this cycle which is a part of this big 1.5 hour thing, is the 25 to 30 minutes Pomodoro technique cycle. Because our brains works also in some shorter cycles, and if you are not advanced yet and if you cannot focus fully for 1.5 hours, you should do a shorter time which will last for 25 to 30 minutes and then do a 5 minutes break and then work again. This is called Pomodoro technique, and it's extremely useful when you are already tired or when you are not as advanced yet. The next thing are some very famous neurostimulants. I mean, of course, caffeine and nicotine. How to use them to maximize your potential. The first thing is to not drink the coffee firstly in the morning. In the morning you have the highest cortisol, and the coffee will literally raise your cortisol even more, which will completely damage your body and your brain. So wait at least 1 hour before waking up to get a first coffee of the day, as most of researchers show that benefits from drinking are higher than cons of drinking coffee and taking caffeine. But remember, as other this kind of substances, caffeine is also addictive, and you can literally build a tolerance to caffeine that you will need more and more coffees to feel the same effect. So use coffee strategically for long tasks, before the training, before some intensive work, not as a drug just for a stupid pleasure. Similar thing is with nicotine. It is one of the quickest drug to start working because it takes literally 20 seconds from getting a nicotine to your mouth to feeling the first effects. And I use it personally very rarely because it has some cancerogenic effects in longer term, for getting focused when I'm actually extremely tired. And I of course don't use cigarettes for that, don't use some snus, but use very small amounts of nicotine in nicotine gums, because the positive effects for focus are amounts around 1 or 2 milligrams. Any bigger amount can actually have a completely damaging effect for your focus. Now let's go to something more advanced. The next step are nootropics. And nootropics are kind of drugs which are meant to boost your cognitive abilities, boost your brain performance, boost your memory, concentration, cognitive skills, and many more things connected to a brain. Of course, no one from them work like a mythical pill Limitless from this movie, where you basically become a superhuman which can analyze everything in seconds, which can learn languages in hours and things like this. But there are some very interesting substances which we will look carefully here. First fact is that most of people think that if something is chemical, it is actually stronger, better, and will probably give better results. But it's nothing more far away from the truth. Our brain is such a complicated mechanism that right now we know just few percent of it, few percent. So we basically cannot create good chemical medicine to improve the power of our brains. But nature did it for us, and the things which we can get naturally sometimes are even better than chemical drugs. I personally take lion's mane with my morning coffee, which can result in neurogenesis, which is basically creating more neuronal cells in our brain. The mechanism is really complicated. It goes through BDNF and NGF, and through activating these areas of the brain, we can actually create new neurons. There are also plants like Radula rosea or ashwagandha, which are meant to calm your nerves, calm cortisol, and through this, it is proven by science that it has an ability to make you focus better, make you better in memorizing and thinking. Also very interesting is a plant called Bacopa monnieri, which is existing in tropical zones of the earth, and it has a proven work on memory and boosting cognitive skills massively. The next step is a substance called NMN, which is actually very strong anti-aging substance, which is boosting the levels of NAD+, which is an extremely important element in very big amount of important neurobiological and biochemical reactions. It lowers an oxidation stress, it can decrease amount of DNA damages, it prevents neurodegeneration, and has some anti-inflammatory work. This is very big shortcut, but basically it is one of the strongest anti-aging substance which is allowed and available on the market. The next step is a Reseratrol, which is another one very strong anti-aging pill substance which has extremely strong anti-inflammatory work which prevent cells from inflammatory effects. Through this they get some protection and you also age slower. The next step are peptides. By peptides I mean short amino acids which works as a biosignals. They can modulate activities and start or stop many important physiological processes. For example, they can massively boost human growth hormone, which as I said before is responsible for muscle growth, for growing in general. They can cause much faster regeneration, they can cause a boost of strength, boost of muscle mass and other things like this. Because of their effects and the fact that they are much more safe than classical steroids, they are often used as a modern kind of steroids for culturists. Step number 16, B6 vitamin. Why I say it here, why I didn't say that earlier during a nutrition point? Because this is very important vitamin which is present in over 140 biochemical processes as a cofactor. People who supplement vitamin B6 report even growth in their confidence, better memory, faster thinking and faster memorizing of data. But also remember that higher doses than this one which are pharmaceutically recommended can be actually dangerous for you. So make sure to take just enough amount of that. Step number 17. And here is the real dark science, real secret knowledge which almost no one knows. And these are sleep supporting processes. What I mean by sleep supporting? Scientists actually discovered that when we increase number of sleep spindles, we can actually improve our memory, our memorizing through even 40%. Imagine being better at memorizing at almost a half. It is what can be done by increasing number of sleep spindles. And scientists actually can do this through a sound which has very specific frequency, specific noise, and it's so hard to reach this effect because even a small imbalance, small change can completely mess a sleep and give even temporary blindness. So if some people will offer for you a machine which will produce the sound which will increase the number of your sleep spindles, it can actually even cause temporary blindness because this is how precise it needs to be to actually work. And the next thing are some specific bed movements which can also increase the number of your sleep spindles and through this increase massively your memory. But the same thing as with sounds, it requires an extreme precision and actually a very scientific environment. If you like this video, please like it, please subscribe. It took me literally so long to do, so much research, so much recording. So subscribe, like, and everything. And remember that you can buy my ebook about memory, about memorizing. It's very good. It's based on over 50 scientific publications and you can buy it. The link is in the description. Thank you very much. Ciao, ciao.